All right, let's talk to a gentleman, coach, just great guy all around who could maybe give a little insight to how these first two games are playing out. Maybe he can come up with a plan. Coach Keith Dambrot from the University of Akron, kind enough to join us here on the Sam Bourquin Show. Coach Dambrot, good afternoon. How's your Tuesday?
I'm doing good, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What do you make of these finals so far, Coach? What are you seeing that you think is fixable on a short-term basis?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm not at practice every day, and I haven't coached a team all year long. But the biggest thing that I've seen is they've had a very difficult time defensively, giving up a lot of easy baskets, trying to switch every screen that they can, whether it's a ball screen or off the ball screen. And they're messing up a lot of screens off the ball, which is demoralizing. They're giving up a lot of uncontested shots right around the rim. So to me, they just have to simplify, get back to playing as hard as they can play, and just kind of clear their head and move forward and leave the last two games alone and just go forward.
Now, for people that are tuning in for the first time or maybe kind of new to basketball, they hear about screens and high screen and roll, pick and roll, fighting over the top, fighting under. You certainly know a lot more than I do, but it seems like we have to fight harder through those because I think on the switches is where we're kind of getting killed a lot.
Well, they're getting killed off the ball a lot on the switch because Golden State is a motion type of team that's constantly moving. Unless you've done that all year long, it's very difficult. Now, Phoenix and Oklahoma City both did that to them and had success guarding them. And I think the plan's been, that helps eliminate Klay Thompson and Seth Curry. But the issue becomes they're still going to get some. And then when you give up easy baskets to the rest, that really creates problems. And then, that demoralizing attitude kind of affects you offensively as well. So I think, it's kind of an attitudinal issue now. They just have to go back to just playing hard and trying to clear their head and not think so much. I think they've had trouble with the thinking part of it, which I think has affected them.
Coach, do you think that maybe especially game one, that the game was almost like too fast? The speed of the game was, they were like, whoa. And I guess this may speak a little bit on the Eastern Conference, but just how good and the precision that Golden State does their thing. I think the game was a little bit too fast for our guys early.
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, first and foremost, they had to travel out to the West Coast, which always affects you. It'll be interesting to see how it affects Golden State coming this direction a little bit. And, the bottom line is Golden State plays at a frenetic pace all year long, and Cleveland doesn't, really. And so, that takes a little bit of an adjustment. They look like they could play with them for about 2.5 quarters, and then they just kind of tucker out, and I think that's been their biggest issue.
Coach Keith Dambrot joining us from the Zips, lending a little analysis here to the first two games and maybe going forward. Cavs and Golden State Game 3 tomorrow night at the Q. We'll have it here on 1590 WAKR. Now, Coach, LeBron as well as anybody, and if you could maybe take us inside of what he may be thinking right now. He's been very calm and collective at the podium after the first two games. I know he's frustrated. I know he's angry. But you can tell he's been there before, been there, done that. And what do you think? The calming effect, is that good for the guys now, or do they need maybe LeBron to throw a little fire out there? What do you think?
Well, I don't know about, you never know what's going on in the locker room. So, whatever you see in the forefront isn't necessarily what's really going on. So I think the bottom line is he's a competitive guy. He's been through it before. I mean, he's got some things he's got to sort out in his mind as to how they're playing him and what he needs to do to help his team win. I mean, he's always been a guy that's tried to get others involved, but it may be time at some point here to say, okay, I'm going to shoot it 35 times tonight, because at some point that might be what it takes to win.
And we've seen him do it before, and I wouldn't look if he wants to put it up there 40 or 50 times. I don't care. I think at the end of the day, that's going to give the Cavaliers the best chance to win. But on the side of that, he sure could use a little help. And I think that coming home, what the usual rule in the NBA and maybe all over basketball, your role guys usually play a lot better at home, don't they?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I've never seen a guy that's a superstar, that's one of the, 5 greatest players of all time, get less calls than LeBron. And again, I can say it because I'm not in the league; they can't find me.
Right.
But like to me, what I see, it's ridiculous. Like you can't just rip down on every play and never get a call, and then all the flops on them. Like they never called those on Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson, and so I think that's the bigger issue. That Coach Lue is a very calm guy that never really gets much involved in the officiating, but I think that's something that you'll probably see a little bit more of in that, he's got to really protect that guy without him having to do it. And I think that's going to come next. I wouldn't be surprised to see LeBron at the free throw line a lot this next game.
Coach, why does LeBron not get the calls? In the NBA, it's a star league, and after a couple of years and, gosh, NBA appearances and all-star games and league MVPs, you earn those calls. I mean, are they still holding it against him that he's 6'8", 270? Is that the problem?
Well, I think, one, it's amazing to me because, the guy's huge. He gets grabbed and, chucked on every play. And, and here's Steph Curry. Like, Steph Curry gets a lot of calls. I mean, it's just crazy to me. And that LeBron's not a big complainer either, which is, you would think that he would get more calls by not complaining. But, I think they'll even up, and I think at home, especially if he doesn't get any at home, then I quit.
Keith Dambrot joining us here on 1590 WAKR, breaking down the 2016 NBA Finals. So if you're Coach Lue, you got two games. You got two games on tape at the Golden State, and you're watching the screen game, and you're watching. Livingston had a big game, kind of held him back a little bit. The Splash Brothers really haven't killed the Cavs. They got a lot better in Game 2. What are you expecting out of Coach Kerr this time? This game coming up here on Wednesday, because I imagine they're going to still make some adjustments, even though they're up 2-0. What do you think you'll get out of them?
Well, I don't think they're going to make a lot of adjustments. I think they're going to keep it very simple. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that, if I was the coach, and again, I'm not, and he gets paid a lot more money than I do to make those decisions, but I would concentrate on the basics. And the basics to me are, hey, look, we're going to play as hard as we can. We're not going to get frustrated. We're going to play together, and we're going to be as simple as we can be. We're not going to overthink this thing. We're going to play as hard as we can at the defensive end and share the ball on offense. And if that isn't good enough, then that isn't good enough. But we're not going to overthink this thing. We're going to simplify it. And we're going to play our roles, and we're going to stay within our roles, and our great players are going to carry us. And that's probably what my message would be.
Coach, when you have a player or two for you that just doesn't seem to be there game night, even before, during the game, what have you, what have you done in the past, and I'm speaking on maybe a J.R. Smith and a couple other guys on our team, to figure out a way to mentally get them there and get them moving? I know they're not going to have it every night, but what do you do to kind of give them a little nudge?
Well, I think first and foremost, you don't talk about it a lot. You just say, hey, look, just give me the best effort you have. That's all I want from you. If the ball goes in, fine. If it doesn't go in, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't control that. But give me the best effort, and then keep it simple. I keep saying that. Keep it simple and do the things you do well, and don't press. If you don't have a good shot, don't take it. If you have a good shot, let it rip. But whatever you do, listen, just give me the best effort you have and do the things that got you here.
What were you thinking before the series, Coach? Did you give the Cavaliers a shot? Did you think they could push it to 7? What were your thoughts before this whole thing got underway?
Well, first and foremost, I think Golden State was fortunate to get here. I mean, really, Oklahoma City had them on the ropes and probably should have won the series. It didn't. So they're vulnerable to some extent. Now, I think the biggest thing is a psychological thing with Cleveland and Golden State. They have to believe they can win, and I think they just have to figure out a way to offset Golden State's strengths and play to their strengths. And I don't think they've done that yet. And I think the biggest thing is just clearing their head and believing they can win. I think psychologically they're a little bit impaired right now, and it happens to the greatest players and the greatest teams. Sometimes they say, "Oh, I can't beat them," or "That guy's better than me." But the competitors figure out a way. And I thought, whenever you have LeBron James on your team, you've got a shot.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't count these guys out yet, because I think they can turn this thing around rather quickly.
we don't know for sure if Kevin Love's going to play again tomorrow night. I'm sure you've seen the whack on the head that he took, and he went crumbled down. He's in the concussion protocol right now. He thinks he will be good to go and play tomorrow night. That's a dicey situation with the things are nowadays, but I guess you certainly hope he can go out there, because if Kevin can be Kevin and get in that zone, that's a weapon that the Cavaliers dearly need. How do you think that they have handled this situation so far, from him getting hit on the head and the concussion thing and all those factors?
Well, as you know now, concussion, you really don't have any control as a coach or an organization. It's all on what the doctors say, and there's so much literature now on the concussion that they go by strictly protocol and how he reacts to tests. But the bottom line, whether he plays or not, they got to figure out a way to win. And probably the biggest thing is they just have to grind it out and make it a war. Mm-hmm. If they do that, they have a better chance. They are not going to outscore Golden State. There's no question about that. So they have to make it an ugly, sloppy, just grind it out game.
Talking NBA Finals, talking Cavs with Coach Keith Dambrot of the University of Akron Zips here on 1590 WAKR. I look back at the Cavaliers season. They made the coaching change. They seem to have a little better chemistry. There seemed to be a lot better inbounds plays, I guess. Guys were feeling good, developing a real good chemistry. And then the three-ball barrage started. And I really thought for about 2 weeks, I said, oh, geez, we're like Golden State East. And I kind of got uncomfortable with that thought, saying that that's probably not going to keep up. And this team kind of underwent we don't know what our identity is. What do you think the identity of the Cavs is right now?
Well, I don't know. I think, the identity should be, hey, we're going to build this thing around LeBron, and if he's creating plays for everybody else, that's fine. But if he's scoring, that's fine too. But the ball's going to touch him, and we're going to move around when he gets it. And if it's a three ball and it's open, we're going to make those. And if not, then, we got to drive the ball to the hoop a little bit. And I think all good teams can play in a variety of different ways. So everybody thinks Golden State's this great offensive team, which they are, but they're also very, very good defensively, and they're a terrific passing team. So you have to be able to play in a variety of different ways to be successful. And I think the lesson to be learned is pretty much all season they knew that they had to get by Golden State. So the preparation should have been to make sure they're ready to play against Golden State in this finals, because as we all know, fans are going to be disappointed if they don't win the final. I mean, that's pretty much how fans are, right? They don't care that you're the Eastern Conference champ.